Lakshnaya,
Lakshnaya,
by sweet.
by sweet.
Vacha,
Vacha,
words.
words.
Hidayena,
Vidayena,
with a heart.
with the heart.
Viduyata,
Viduryata,
regretting very much.
regretting very much.
Preyasyaha,
Preyasyaha,
of his beloved.
of his beloved.
Sneha,
Sneha,
from affection.
from affection.
Samramba,
Samramba,
of anger.
of anger.
Lingam,
Lingam,
symptoms.
symptoms.
Atmani,
Atmani,
in her heart.
in her heart.
Na,
Na,
did not.
no.
Abhyagat,
Abhyagat,
aroused. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The king, with a grieved mind, began to speak to his wife with very pleasing words. Although he was filled with regret and tried to pacify her, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. Responsively, the king, with a grieved mind, began to speak to his wife with very pleasing words. Although he was filled with regret and tried to pacify her, he could not see any symptom of anger caused by love within the heart of his beloved wife. Om Jnanatimidandasya Janaganasalakayam Chaksusmiritam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavistam Shapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamaya Dadati Sa Padantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the king, he's in trouble. Because his wife is not acting like that out of some motive to try to get him to, speak sweet words. She's really given up on the guy. And therefore, even with the sweet words, he doesn't see any anger of love. Generally, there's, some feelings. A woman may act in a certain way petulantly just to get her husband to give her attention or whatever. But here, there's nothing like that. She's completely avadut was the word used in the previous verse. Indifferent. Indifferent is worse than hatred in these kind of dealings. Because, just like Lord Jesus said, give me those who are strongly attached or strongly repulsed. Rather, the lukewarm I spit out. St. Paul was against the Christians. He was persecuting the Christians, going to the city to persecute them, and then a bolt came and fell off, and Christ said, supposed to have said to him, why do that? Why are you persecuting me? Then he had a conversion, became the best Christian, and most influential Christian, even more than Christ in some ways, St. Paul. So, like that. His wife is completely indifferent to him. So, he's in an unfortunate position, because he's so attached to her. We see how attached he is, because the next life he takes a woman because of his attachment to this lady. So purport, who can read? I have to read. The king very much regretted having left his queen and having gone to the forest to execute sinful activities. When a person regrets his sinful activities, the abandoning of Krishna consciousness and good intelligence, his path of deliverance from the path of material clutches is open. As stated in the Bhagavatam 5.5.5, Parabhavas tavad abodha jato yavana jignasata atma tattvam. When a person loses his Krishna consciousness and loses interest in self-realization, he must engage in sinful activities. All one's activities in life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply lead to defeat and misuse of one's life. Naturally, one who comes to Krishna consciousness regrets his previous sinful activities in human form. Only by this process can one be delivered from the clutches of nescience or ignorance in materialistic life. Okay, so any questions so far?
Who's the king? Who's the king?
The king is Pranjana. Yeah, this history was that he met this wife, like on the road. She was looking for shelter. She accepted him. But then he was living with her, but he somehow felt bored. So he wanted to go hunting, which is correlated to sinful activity. He wasn't satisfied with the wife at home. He wanted to have something more exciting. Killing animals may appear more exciting. So when he left like that, he left the queen without informing her. So she became very despondent. So here we see the king is going to try to bring her back to his side. Anuniye ita sanakaya viro nunaya kovida pas prasapadayu galam aha kosanga lalitam. Translation: because the king was very expert in flattering, he began to pacify his queen very slowly. First he touched her 2 feet, then embraced her nicely, seating her on his lap, and began to speak as follows. Purport: one has to awaken his Krishna consciousness by first regretting his past deeds. Just as King Paranjana began to flatter his queen, one should, by deliberate consideration, rise oneself to the platform of Krishna consciousness. To attain such an end, one must touch the lotus feet of the spiritual master. Krishna consciousness cannot be achieved by self-endeavor. One must therefore approach a self-realized Krishna conscious person and touch his lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj therefore said, Naisam matistavat ukrama gangrim spristyat anato pagamo yadartha. Sorry. Mahi asampada rajobi sekam niskinchananam na vinita yavat. Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.32. One cannot come to the precincts or to the position of Krishna consciousness unless he touches the dust of the lotus feet of a person who has become a Mahatma, a great devotee. This is the beginning of the surrendering process. Lord Krishna wants everyone to surrender unto him, and this surrendering process begins when one touches the lotus feet of a bona fide spiritual master. By sincerely rendering service to a bona fide spiritual master, one begins his spiritual life in Krishna consciousness. Touching the lotus feet of a spiritual master means giving up one's false prestige and unnecessarily puffed up position in the material world. Those who remain in the darkness of material existence due to their falsely prestigious position, so-called scientists and philosophers, are actually atheists. They do not know the ultimate cause of everything. Although bewildered, they are not ready to surrender themselves to the lotus feet of a person who can know things in their proper perspective. In other words, one cannot arouse Krishna consciousness simply by his own mental speculation. One must surrender to the bona fide spiritual master. Only this process will help one. Atau Guru Puja. So the first beginning is to approach somebody who knows better than you what's good for you. So generally people never come to that point. They think they know what's good for them. Therefore, sometimes the Lord takes everything away, makes it very difficult for the devotee. And then, naturally, he takes shelter at the Lord. Like Gajendra the elephant. He was fighting with the crocodile in the water for 1,000 years. He couldn't come out. because the crocodile was so strong in the water. But then he, instead of his own endeavor, trying to get himself out, he prayed to the Lord very sincerely. And the Lord came, riding on Garuda, and cut the head of the crocodile with his disc. Or another example, Draupadi. She was being made naked in the assembly. And she was taking shelter of her husbands, but they weren't helping, of the elders. Everybody was silent. Then she tried herself to protect herself, but she wasn't strong enough. Then, with hands thrown up, she called for Krishna. Then Krishna provided her unlimited sorry. So as long as we're thinking, I can do, I'm okay, I don't need help, then it's very difficult to get the mercy of the Lord, because this is the philosophy. By the mercy of Krishna, one gets a spiritual master. First point. So we won't get Krishna's mercy, we won't get a spiritual master unless we really want one. Just like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was ready to commit suicide if Gorkashodas Babaji wouldn't accept him. Previously he had approached them, and he said, at first he had said, no, you're a great scholar, I'm illiterate here, a mendicant, how can you accept me as a master? So he rejected. Then again he came back on the order of his father, Srila Bhaktivinoda. And then the Gorkashodas Babaji said, all right, let me consult with Mahaprabhu. Which is interesting in itself. Then, again, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came back, and he said, so what did Mahaprabhu say? And Gorkashore said, oh, I forgot to ask him. So, like this, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was becoming desperate. I want your shelter. So he had to threaten that he was going to jump off the bridge or something. Then Gorkashore agreed. And he only took that one disciple. Generally, taking disciples is a botheration. Because you hear so many problems. Oh, Guruji, this, my wife left me, this, and so, whatever. You have to be able to digest all of that. So, therefore, Lord Chaitanya says, don't take many disciples. Prabhupada, Prabhupada took so many disciples, but he said at the end, if I made any mistake, I accepted too many nonsense disciples. He said like that. So it's a serious business. The guru has to test the disciple to see if they're really sincere. And the disciple has to test the guru, see if he's actually bona fide. But this is the process. This is in the center of our Vaishnava philosophy. Guru-disciple relationship. Of course, Prabhupada is a guru for everyone, so that makes it a little easier for all of those who come now, who didn't meet Prabhupada directly, because Prabhupada is empowered Shaktavesh, so he's ready to be Shiksha Guru for everybody. He's ready to help you. But still, we should find Diksha Guru who can give us the mantra, give us the name. So it's an important relationship. The Guru should be concerned for his disciple. He shouldn't think, oh no, I'm too busy, don't bother me. He has to, you can say, extend himself to assist. This is the duty of Guru. And the disciple has a duty also. So like this, the relationship is made, and then we can begin to get the mercy of the Lord. So we say, by the mercy of, by the mercy of Krishna we get a Guru, then by the mercy of Guru we get Krishna. We need the mercy of Guru in order to get Krishna. Krishna won't accept us directly. He says in the Adi Purana, those who claim to be my devotees are not my devotees, but those who are the devotees of my devotees, they are my devotees. This is the arrangement that Krishna has made. We've turned away from him. We've come to the material world. We can't dictate how we're going to go back. Krishna has arranged. Evam parampara. We have to go through the process. Mahajana yena kata sapanta. We have to follow the footsteps or the path. Mahajana yena kata sapanta. Panta means path. We have to follow the path chalked out by great souls in the past. So even Krishna was showing, he accepted a spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya accepted a spiritual master, Ishvara Puri. So this is the process. Srila Prabhupada accepted the spiritual. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, I'm just telling you how he accepted. So this is the process. We can't say, I'm going to make my own process and directly approach the Lord. The Lord will see that what is your qualification for approaching me. Just like we give the example, you want to meet President Obama. If you know his daughter, it may be easier. She can introduce you. Oh, this is my dear friend, Daddy. And then you can have access. So something like that. We can't approach Krishna directly. We need the mercy of Vaishnava. Okay, any questions on this point? Yes?
Maharaj, thank you. It seems that there's a preponderance of not wanting to accept Guru. And it just seems logical that someone would take expertise from a doctor or from an airline pilot or a real estate agent, but people don't want to take expertise from a spiritual guru. Why this big distinction?
Because they think they know best what's good for them. It's like Arjuna. He was, for the whole first chapter, he was giving so many arguments against surrendering. Oh, if we fight Krishna, then the men will be killed, women will be left unprotected, Varnar Sanskara, unwanted population will come. So many arguments he gave. How can I fight those who are superior, Bhishma and Drona? You wouldn't fight your guru. You may have killed demons, but you never killed your guru. Why are you asking me to kill? Like that, he was giving so many arguments why he didn't want to surrender. And he had Krishna personally in front of him. So the tendency is there because we come to the material world due to false ego. So naturally we think, I know best. Who are you to tell me? This is the, you can say, default position. So then we have to see, either we get kicked by material nature so severely, then we think, okay, yeah, I need help. Or we become very intelligent to see that even I have so much intelligence, I can't make a solution here. No matter how intelligent you are, you can't find a solution in the material world because it's built to be problematic. It's constructed. Dukkalayam ashashvatam. It's full of trouble. It's made to be troublesome. Krishna makes it troublesome and temporary so that we'll get out of the illusion that we can be happy here. Everybody's under the illusion that if I get this job, if I get this position, if I make this money, if I get this wife, this husband, then I'll be happy. But it's not possible. Just like the ocean, the waves are always coming. If you may make some attempt to put the wave down, this wave down, but then the next one is coming, next one. So we try to solve this problem. We're shifting the problem from the shoulders to the head. We don't make a solution. Oh, well, the shoulder feels good. Yeah, now I solved that problem. But the problem is still there. Now it's on your head, then on the other shoulder. You can't get rid of the problem. The problem is what? You're tethered to this body. The body is full of misery. It's going to cause you trouble, inevitably. Who can avoid? But we don't see that. Therefore, Chanakapana says we should keep the mentality we have at the crematorium or at the funeral home or when we're very sick. Then we become sober. And we realize, wow, I don't have any capacity to enjoy. Otherwise, we're always thinking, I can enjoy. I'll go surf the internet. I'll go to the discotheque. I'll be happy. Anyone else? Thank you for the comment. So guru is not a cheap thing. We have to be serious. Otherwise, why would a guru take the trouble? It's like having children. Not quite as bad. Not quite as bad because it's voluntary. Prabhupada once told me personally, for me, raising a family was more difficult than running an international society. Because the family, you're stuck with them in a sense. You can't just tell your son, 12-year-old son, get out of here. If you don't want to be here, don't go. This is voluntary. You don't want to be in my house, it's okay. You can go. Anywhere you want. You can't, you have to take care of them. But in ISKCON, we can say, okay, you're not happy here? What can we do? There's the door. You can, nobody's forcing anybody to stay here or to come here. It's always voluntary. Spiritual life is always voluntary. So in that sense, it's better. But still, relationships can be difficult, even in the spiritual movement. But we need relationship. We can't imagine that we can just be alone. Maybe in a previous age, yogis could go by themselves, sit in the cave in the Himalayas, but in this age it's not possible. This is the method. We have to come together, chant together, enliven each other, tushanticha, ramanticha, discussing the philosophy, and then we find this is better than material association. This is better than going to the discotheque. This kind of ball dancing is not like that. We're also dancing, but this dancing will fully satisfy us. Otherwise, there's no satisfaction. Okay, anyone else? Yes.
So Maharaj, you mentioned Vairagya means to renounce from heart. But somebody who is in a relationship, in Grihastha, he cannot practice, like you rightly said, you cannot avoid your relations, your family, your children. So in that situation, is this, like you just said, coming together as a spiritual group and chanting the Mahamantra, is that the right path? Or we can still practice Vairagya from heart and stay in a Grihastha? How does that go?
No, Prabhupada said we should make our house like a temple. We should read Krishna book together with wife and children. We should have kirtan like that. Make the house a temple. Otherwise we have to tolerate. Yeah, it's true. There's going to be difficulty because, like I say, it's not voluntary. So in one sense, a lady, we were just preaching at Hartford, and one lady confided to me that Prabhupada came to her in a dream, because I was saying how Prabhupada can help all of us. And she said, like 10 years ago, Prabhupada came to her in a dream, and because she was thinking of leaving her husband, because he wasn't very interested in Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada came into the dream and said, please tolerate. So she's been able to do that. And he's making a little progress. At least he comes to the temple now. So yeah, we have to tolerate. It's difficult for husband, difficult for wife, sometimes difficult for children. Right? They have to tolerate us, the parents. Sometimes the parents in a bad mood, they'll react in one way. If they're in a good mood, they react in another. The child does the same thing. One time he gets chastised, one time he gets complimented. Because the parents are in a different mood. So it's difficult for the children too. What to do? Brahmacharya is easier, but it's not easy. It's not easy because Brahmacharya means we have to do what we're told. People don't want to do that. So sannyas is better. We have a little independence. But that also, then, like Prabhupada said, Caesar's wife has to be above suspicion. Or another example he gave was a black spot on a white cloth immediately becomes noticeable. So the sannyasi has to be very exemplary. He's a little bit, weak and something, then a big scandal. Then it's very difficult to come back. We've seen in our society, if sannyasis slip, then it's very difficult for them. If one of us tasted honor, dishonor is worse than death. So in any case, the point I'm making, whether you go grihastha life or renounce life, it is a struggle. Because this is Maya's kingdom. Once we were in London and Janaki, the wife of Mukunda, she said, Prabhupada, you're so wonderful, you want to save the whole world. She kind of burst out. We were a little shocked, actually, in her feminine voice, And Prabhupada became sober, he said, yes, but it's not an easy thing. This is Maya's kingdom. But we're in the kingdom of Maya. To be Krishna conscious is strange. Everybody else is, attracted to material things. The whole world is moving on attraction. Money, sex life, prestige, everybody's running after these things. But from the spiritual point of view, this is all illusion. Nothing substantial, like Prabhupada is saying. Prabhupada is saying very clearly, right? In the purport. In other words, we read it, maybe the previous verse. Okay, any other questions? I'm reading, so if you have a question, speak out.
I have a question. If you're doing some service with some other devotees and somehow you don't like how they're doing it, or you have some conflict, should you find some different service to do, or how should you do that?
You should check with your authority. And you're going to say, I don't have authority. So that's the difficulty. If you don't have authority, then you don't... like a street dog, probably give the example. In India, we see that people... mostly dogs are just street dogs. Nobody wants to take care of them, become their master. But if the dog has a master, then he's better positioned. Then he's guarding the house. Ruff, ruff, why are you coming to? This is my master's house. You can't come in. He feels strong because he has a master. And a street dog, negligible. Nobody cares for them. Eating scraps here and there. So if we have a master, then we have a stronger position. We have an authority. And we can go to him and say, whoever he is, temple president, temple commander, or guru, and say, please, I have this problem. What should I do? That's why it's not easy to become guru, because then you get so many problems thrown on your lap. But then, you don't have to accept it. Nobody can force you to become guru. Disciple can come, aspiring disciple, you can just say, no, I'm not taking disciple. Jayadvaita Swami, he doesn't take disciple. Because it can be problematic. Here's the verse, here's the point I was looking for, where Prabhupada says, all one's activities in a life devoid of Krishna consciousness simply lead to defeat and misuse of one's life. So we're seeing that they're like misusing their life, running after this, and they think that we're crazy. There was we were first starting this movement in New York. We used to go out chanting. I was there in 1969 for some time. We'd go out chanting, and the people, they never saw it before, right? So a lot of times they would go, "Ooh, you people are crazy." They'd go like this. So they came to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, they think we're crazy, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada wrote an essay, Who is Crazy? I don't know if it's still available. Who is crazy? And that, who is crazy? They're crazy. We're saying they're crazy because they're identifying the body as the self. If you go to the insane asylum, if somebody's there, he's thinking Napoleon, that he's Napoleon. Then you say, oh, now I can see he's crazy. But everybody's thinking, I'm Mr. Shah, I'm Mr. Jones, I'm Mr. Patel. This is my wife. This is crazy. You don't know who you are. If you don't know who you are, you're crazy. But nobody knows who they are in the material world, on the material side. Okay, I'll leave you on that happy note. Don't be crazy. Be Krishna conscious. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna.